energy, sweep, step, push, sweep, good evening. It's Christmas. Good to see you all. It's good to see you all. On this holiday of joy. And it's now, we're moving towards spring. Even though the 21st was the first day of winter, we're moving towards spring. Every day from today will get longer and longer. And ancient civilizations used to be very aware of what was going on in the sky. And these days, most people don't even look up, you know? I remember a good 12 years ago, I used to have a girlfriend who lived kind of near Blacksburg, and there was a road that kind of went towards West Virginia, and she had a farm. It was kind of not quite in West Virginia, it was still in Virginia, but it was, you kept going down the road she was on, you'd go into where Tech is. And so at the top, I used to leave from her place early in the morning and go back towards Roanoke, where I had a job. And I would stop off at this gas station because they had pretty cheap gas, and they also had a great morning breakfast biscuit. Couldn't beat it. I mean, really fresh, real biscuits, real everything. Yummy, yummy. Good coffee. And I go in there and maybe get 10 gallons of gas and get 2 biscuits, and they know how I like them, and they'd have it like almost ready for me, right? And so I'd walk in and get that and go out, and I'd be at a pump, and I would put my $10 in my vehicle, and I looked up, and the sky, it was a beautiful, when I walked in there, it was, you're driving up into the sunrise. It was a beautiful blue sky, not a cloud, not anything, just amazingly blue. And I went in and I had my biscuits and coffee and went out, 10 minutes later, and the sky looked like a herringbone coat. I mean, there were lines every which way, and I was just like amazed. Now, I've been watching chemtrails for a good 10 years up until that time. And I first started to notice chemtrails in the late 70s. And but this was like one of those times where it was like just 10 minutes ago and the sky was blue, and now it's like just covered in X's every which way, and airplanes don't fly that way. And so I'm looking at it, and there's a bunch of guys all pumping gas into their vehicles, and I go, "Hey guys, look up!" And they all kind of look up, and I said, "Look at that, that's chemtrails." And they go, "Huh?" Anyway, I started to describe exactly what it was and what it was doing to them and to their children and their life. And they freaked out, jumped in their cars, and drove away as fast as they could. They didn't want to know anything. And that's kind of where we are today. We're in this place of where it's gotten so surreal. The technological fix is in, and that's what the powers that shouldn't be think that, hey, well, we've got everyone wired. We're about to take over their brains with 5G and nano dust and all the above. But in reality, all of that is an illusion. And the only truth is love's co-creation. And I love you all. And so, the Christmas gift that I'm going to lay on you is that we're going to visit again the land of the eight magic kings. And we visited there once before. St. Jim Rain took us in. And you're going to be able to get the 411 on all of the powers that be, all of the dimensional characters, as I call the usual suspects. The insectoids, the greys, the tall greys, the Nordics, the reptiles. And you'll see the illusion of Hollywood that's right in front of us. And the only reality is our co-creation with love. And with practice of breath, we can access all of what's going on. And we don't have to be like, the disclosure clowns, disclose this, disclose this. No, we can live a life that's real. We can move forward and show through the example of our lives, no matter what happens, we can step up to integrity of love's co-creation, right? And every challenge is an opportunity for growth. So that's where we are. We're at a place where we are going to go. And I, prepare first by looking at my inbox, what you guys have left me. I look on my Gmail, what you're talking about, and then I ponder it. And then, I go into state and prepare to do these chats. And one of the things I was watching, and I hope you go, George Carlin. He's like the patron saint of love because he basically made fun of everything. And if you just start watching George Carlin things, all his stuff, especially his interviews and people talking to him, and the thing that's the funniest and most clearest, he has, in the early O's or late 90s, he went to the DC news. They have these lunches. I forgot what it's called, but he, Reporters Club in DC is a name to it. And he went and, they had a dinner for, lunch for him, and he gave a little speech and then answered questions. And again, he did it way better than I. He really he joked about everything, every aspect of what it was. And he was going on, his little speech or his little rap or his little diss was about language. And he's a real language, wordsmith. And he's a very, like me, I like to use the appropriate word. And this guy, he was sharper than a tack because he deconstructed everything and he really took apart being politically correct, on all of the subject matter. And it was hilarious. I mean, just, and no one, from any of those groups could actually really complain because it was so funny. And he dissed everybody. He didn't just pick one group, left, right, center, he went, he took, he's like South Park, and South Park was great because it would make fun of everyone, and they kind of stayed away from the radical Islam guys. And Al Qaeda got a hold of them and said, "Listen, why aren't you making fun of us?" And they said, "Hey, we don't want to die." And they gave them a caliphate, meaning a special dispensation where South Park could make fun of Al Qaeda and they wouldn't die. So humor is it, you know. And my good friend Rev wanted me to be Will Rogers, right? A comedian who was probably the first political comedian of the 20th century. And he was a cowboy and had a lasso, and he went into that. And, you know, I tried to use, you know, that's when I was Cowboy Bob, right? And Cowboy Baba Booey, you know, I was trying. And maybe I'll go back to those characters. You know, one thing I want to do, my next, you know, so I'm still in my little series of 40 days and 40 nights. But the next series I'm going to do is I'm going to be the Soupy Sales of the 21st century, right? And I'm going to have all these sock puppet characters who will be politicians. And and I'll make inappropriate jokes too. I'm not as talented as these guys, but you know, I'm trying to, you know, look for my thing that will be more of a thing. I mean, this thing is good. You guys like it. I like doing it with you, and that's cool. You know, we are doing a shamanic ceremony every time we do a chat. You know, I prepare before we start up, and so you know that's why you guys are experiencing all you're experiencing. So, am I coming in good? Do I look good? Am I sounding good? Is everything good? Do, 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 do. Never. Oh, can you hear me now? Thumbs up. Okay, good. Okay. So we'll wait a little bit. Well, why don't you guys chat? Bring up some. I've got a shamanic sock puppet for you. Good. You know, the more things you guys give me, the better the show will be. I'm sure. So, did any of you guys remember Soupy Sales? I mean, he was. I just love Soupy Sales. Crippled Christ. You know, Crippled Christ. I think. Don't you think? Who's the guy who dies on South Park? You know, they killed Kenny. Kenny is the crippled Christ, right? Did you guys see the cripple fight on South Park? That was a punch for punch, a homage to the fight that was in They Live by Carpenter. That was a great movie. And you know, that's, you know, the Illuminati chump poster children have to basically give up on what they're doing before it gets done. Gore, gore. You know, buddy, some of your references, most of your references go way over my head. So, but I love you, buddy. You're all my griots. Okay. Going back a bit, I meant to say, look for Jane Monks in Delaware. Matt. Well, there's so many things underground here, you know, along the Appalachian. It makes the West look like nothing. The West have big things underground. Let's see, before we get started, as we're building a bigger crowd, I'll tell you a little story. I drove out west to go to one of my goddaughter's weddings in Boulder, right? And I had time, I had no contracts, and I had nothing to do, and I just got myself a new car, and so I kind of took it on a nice little road trip, you know, and I took it slow, and I went straight on Route 40 all the way there, right? You know, from North Carolina to, you know, Tennessee, and I just kept staying on 40. And once I kind of hit Salt Lake, no, not Salt Lake City, the place that has the arch, St. Louis. I kind of hung out there a little bit, Saw a few things, saw some friends, and then kept going. When I got into Kansas, it was really bizarre because I'm going down 40 in Kansas, and there was a tornado in front of me, a tornado on either side of one and back, and I had to slow down to be on a speed where I just kept along so nobody would, because the one in front of me kept zigging zagging across 40. And when I caught up to it, it was gone, and but it had erased 40. I mean, concrete road, but the concrete road, it was like very bizarre. And towards dark 30, I pulled into this town that had just been obliterated by the tornado. And I came off of 40, and there was a gas station and a motel and a restaurant. And I went into the motel and I got a room. And I said, "So, did the tornado hit here?" And she goes, "What tornado?" I said, "The one that I saw kind of, where's the town?" And she goes, "Well, if you go down this, county road about 2 miles, you'll find the town." So I was hungry, so I went into the diner. I went to the first. I went to the gas station and filled my car up to the tippy top. Because still the electricity was on in these three places, and went and had a thing. And I said, "So what happened to the tornado?" And the lady didn't hear. And I said, "Okay." So I was fed. I got some food and put it in my car, and I drove into town. And I was like, the first responders hadn't come, hadn't arrived, and it was just obliterated. And I had been an EMT, so I got out and I had my little flashlight because it was getting darker, and I kept my lights on, and it was like quieter than quiet, and everything was obliterated. And as a first responder, I know better than to walk into something dangerous without people around, right? And so I don't go that far from the light of my car, and I'm there no more than 5, 10 minutes, and that's when fire trucks, helicopters, state police, FEMA, you name it, they all showed up like on boom. And they said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I just drove up and I thought I could help, but I'm not from here, so." And they said, "Did you hear anything?" "No, man, it is quieter than quiet. I didn't hear no screams, no cries, no falling anything, no noise of any type, no dogs barking, and that's a bad sign." And they said, "That's a bad sign." And I said, "Well, I'm in the hotel. I'm just going to go back there, and you see what car I got. So if you need me, that's where I'll be. I'll get out of your hair." And they said, "Okay." So I drove back to the motel, got in. And still, the people in the motel were going, "What happened?" And I said, "Well, there's a tornado that just blew your town away." "Well, no one's called." I said, "Well, you're going to be hearing a lot because there are a lot of people just showed up." "Yeah, we saw all those flashing police cars and fire trucks and ambulances." I said, "Yeah." Anyway, so I went to my room, was watching TV, and there was nothing on the TV about it. It was unfreaking believable. And I wanted to get out of there as early as possible. So, I went to sleep and woke up when all the place was, they turned the motel into, ground zero. And I stayed in my room, and then, the morning came, sun rose, I went and had breakfast, and all the guys were there, the firemen, everybody. They had set up like, a tent in the parking lot. And I talked to a couple of the guys, and they said it was unbelievable. They couldn't find anybody. And I said, "Well, you got another 20 hours before you can basically think everyone's dead." And they said, "Yeah, but it doesn't look good." Anyway, so I basically got on 40 and rode into Denver, right? Before I hooked up and went up to Boulder. So I'm driving in, and the road 10 miles outside of Boulder, Denver, is like it's like a parking lot. Route 40 is like nothing's moving, and I get out of the car and I walk up to this guy in the big rig, and I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "Oh, the G7's meeting in Denver, and this they've closed everything down. The president and all these other world leaders are showing up. It's a total clusterfuck." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I said, "So is it going to move?" And they said, "No, we'll probably be here for 12 hours." I said, "Really?" And I'm going, hmm. So I get my little car. It's four-wheel drive, my new car. And I just decided, there's no fence. I'm just going to drive across the road until I hit a county road and go that way. So I do. I kind of, boom, 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 boom. I mean, there were no cops or nothing. I just kind of drove across, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles, and I hit a county road. There's nothing on it. I just headed towards Denver, and I got to a place where that road ran into the new Denver airport. It looked like a bunch of tents, right? So I drive in there, and I get to this place where there's no place for me to go but onto the airport. The gates open, so I just drive on to the airport. And I'm driving along, do 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 do. I'm looking for a place to get off the tarmac, and there's really no seeming airplanes flying in. There's a bunch of military and other aircraft, and I see Air Force One, and I'm looking around, and then all of a sudden this little Jeep pulls in front of me with flashing lights, and it says, and the sign is "Follow me." So I go, okay, do 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 do. I'm following him, and all of a sudden we take a turn, and we go through an opened hangar, right? And we go in, and there is no back wall to the hangar or another door going out to the other side of the hangar. There's a ramp that goes down. And I go down with him, and we go down, and we go down, and we go down, and we go down. And then we start going around and around and around and down and down and down. And we pop out like 10 minutes later going down, so God knows how. And every so often there's a place you like turn off of the scroll going down to like level 12, 14, 19, 32, 86. I mean, we are down underground. And I pop out following this little Jeep with a flashing light saying, "Follow me." And we pop out into this gigantic cavern. I mean, gigantic. It's like, maybe 300 feet high and, 400 feet wide, and you can't see the end of it. And it's illuminated. I mean, there are no big lights up there. It's like, I kind of stick my head out, look, because we stop. And all of a sudden, I'm surrounded by guys with machine guns pointed at me. And he goes, "How did you get here?" And the Jeep in front of me is stopped. And, it's got the blinking lights and it says follow. I said, "I followed him." And they go and talk to that guy. And he said, "Yeah, I thought he was supposed to be, Anyway, so they, "Let's see your license." I look at my license. They get on the radio, and they go, "Well, okay, he's going to show you the way out. Just follow him, and you haven't seen anything." I said, "Yeah, man, I haven't seen anything." So he takes me out another way, and instead of going zing, 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 we just keep driving like on an inclined plane. I hit my little odometer. We drive underground for about 40 miles in a straight line in a flat plane, and we pop out right on the next to the highway, behind a truck stop. And he goes, "Just get on the highway, you're almost in Boulder." So I get on, right. So I missed all the traffic, and I went underground, and there's something very squirrely underneath the Boulder airport, right? So we lost a few. There's 6 of us. It's 25 minutes. Okay. Okay. So that's it. That was a little Christmas story of the Boulder airport and an obliterated town in Kansas that no one seemed to know about. It seemed to be an experiment to me. Just because I'm on Route 40 and there's like two hurricanes on either side, one in front, one in back, and we all move, it was just too weird. Okay. So we're at 25, almost 26 minutes. So at 30 minutes, we're preparing now. So get yourself in a comfortable position. And we're going to go into state, and we're going to go into our Akashic records, and we're going to release ourselves of our anger and frustration and anxiety and all the negative emotions that are artificially put upon us. And we will become light and free and ready to take a little stroll through the doorway of the land of the 8 kings of magic. So we're sitting or lying down in a comfortable position where you're safe and secure. And we're going to start exercising with our breath. And we're going to do another new little breath. Not just breathing in 20%, but we're going to do what is known as the dragon's breath. So we go and out. And this process will enable us to breathe deeper, easier, and it actually helps us internalize the prana in a more balanced way, more total way. Okay? We breathe in the prana. As we breathe in the prana, we're breathing in the life force of the universe, of love's co-creation, and we're cleansing our bodies. And as we breathe in the prana, that current, that energetic, which is the vacuum that exists between the parallel dimensions, we're breathing that in. That's the scalar energy that animates all life. Aho. Puff and puff. And you see that prana going into your body. You see it entering your lungs, filling all of those alveoli, all those little fibers, all those little hairs. The breath of the prana is going in there and energizing. Those little hairs are really vibrating, and that vibration goes all through our body. And as the blood is pushed through our lungs, that vibration goes into the cells and energizes the iron in our blood. And as our iron swirls clockwise against the wall of the veins and arteries and capillaries, inside of that, another swirl counterclockwise, and inside of that, another swirl clockwise, and that is the alternating polyphase generator of a scalar current through our body. See it clearly. See our body, the current, the prana going in and going down to our chi into the earth, and then out of the earth and around and in and out. And that's where we get the connection between our Father Sky and our Mother Earth. That is the calm, they're within the flux of this energy. There is a toric field, right? And that toric field is us, right? And that's why no matter what, the powers that shouldn't be and the hidden hand cabal of the, insectoids, they really can't be a negative to this field unless we give in, unless we, accept, because we have free will, we can be oppressed, we can be a slave. But if you don't want to be, you don't have to be, You don't have to suffer, because when you breathe, when you flow this current through you, no matter how much pain you're under, emotional, psychic, physical, because nothing is real without being created with love's co-creation. And all of this illusion definitely is not done with love's co-creation. So I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and as we do, you're going to go deeper and deeper into a conscious state of relaxation. Your conscious mind will totally occupy the little squirrel in your head, and you'll be able to illuminate yourself in your imaginary mirror and take that illumination and shine it into your subconscious mind, which is not a scary place of monsters, but the library of your Akashic record, where you can see all that you are, past, present, and future. And just like Ebenezer Scrooge experienced the visitation of the four ghosts, the ghost of his buddy Marley. Marley was dead to begin with, right? And that's because Marley was always dead. Even when he was in his body, he was dead. Just like Ebenezer Scrooge was dead. But Ebenezer Scrooge had the opportunity to change his life. And that's the beauty of that story. Again, I advise you to go read it. It's just a 2-hour read. And or go on your Alexis or Spotify or whatever and ask it to play, Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, because that's been in, public domain so long that they'll play it for you for free. And so, or go to the library and get books on, CDs and play it in your car. But if you listen to that, you will realize that Dickens was an alchemist, and a shaman, because every word is sculpted to evoke a shamanic experience through the alchemy of words. And words are very important. They're very powerful. With good thoughts come good words, that come good deeds, that come good outcomes. And go look at any of George Carlin's, especially that one where he was at the National, newspaper guys luncheon, right, in DC in the late 90s, early O's. It's amazing because he really forensically takes apart all of the politics without being political. It's amazing, right? He's like the Charles Dickens of the 21st century, right? And you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation, going deeper and deeper. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. You are seated or lying down in a safe position, and your body is safe. Your avatar, you are leaving your avatar. Your conscious mind is leaving your avatar, and your conscious breath is totally focused. And you see the prana energy going into your body through your breath. Your lungs are filling up, and your blood is coursing through, and it is taking the prana to every cell of your body and energizing it through the mitochondria of each cell. You see the little lightning bolts on the tops of the cells as they split apart. The RNA and the DNA makes the helix. See it clearly. And with each cell, you are healing your body through the breath and the focused prana in every cell. You are healing your body because with every breath out, you're expelling all the toxins of your body, and you're creating the ease of every cell. So you're not experiencing dis-ease, you experience the balance of ease. See it clearly. So anything wrong in your body, you can heal. You can heal it even once you get sick. Look at me. I'm the poster boy of this. I should be dead, but I'm not. I shouldn't be able to walk, but I am. I'm not supposed to have legs, but I do. Yes, Akashic has the keys. Yep. That is correct. Dr. Jamie. And as you illuminate your body, your avatar, your higher consciousness is being illuminated in your imaginary mirror behind your eyelids where you have REM sleep. And you're focusing that light into your library, and you walk into your library, and in front of you is your reading table, your reading chair, your guides, your librarian, your animal totem, and your guardian angel are to your left. And in front of you is the great fire place of the eternal flame, blue light, gold light in the middle, and the gold white light like a thread in the middle of it. And you sit down at your reading table, and your librarian brings your Akashic record, and your Akashic record you open up, and you put your hands, your right hand on the right page, your left hand on the left page, and it's just like one of those things where they have the scanner of your hands. Your book is connecting to you, and you are downloading all the negative energy that you may have experienced through all of your creation, all of those angers, frustrations, all those bitter anxieties, all that self-doubt is being loaded into your Akashic record, taking it outside of your consciousness and putting it in your record. And at your own leisure, you will go back and look at this, and you will get a real, oh wow, that's why that happened. That's not so bad. I need to forgive myself for that. And that other person, it wasn't their fault. I'm just blaming them. And they feel really bad about how I've treated them. I'm going to treat them better. Right? And you will get this perspective, and you will be able to lead a better life. Again, good thoughts, good words, good actions, good outcomes. You'll no longer blame other people for your mistakes. And you will see your mistakes as an opportunity to learn and not do it again. My second wife used to say, saying you're sorry is not good enough, but it's a good start, right? So, if you learn from whatever you do and you do better, then whatever mistake you made is not something that you should torture yourself about. You know, if you can learn, then that's what it's about. So you have downloaded all of that negative energy, all those self-doubts, and looking straight in front at the gigantic fireplace, and out of the flame and the big smoke comes from the chimney, and poof, and there in front of you is the master Saint Germain, right? So Saint Germain walks towards you. You get up, you greet Saint Germain. Saint Germain gives you a big hug, a kiss on each cheek, puts his arm underneath your left arm, and you walk arm in arm over to the door of the land of the 8 kings of magic. See you clearly. And magic is, what is magic? Magic is a delusion or illusion, right? You ever see a magician and he does what is known as sleight of hand? Nothing up my sleeves, but that's what a magician does, right? And one man's magic is another man's science. And what is science? But the ability to bend reality to what you want it to do. That's science. Science is just another religion, another snake oil salesman, Look at what religion, the 10 Commandments, Why are the 10 Commandments? Really, there should only be 2, And, thou shalt not have another God, thou shalt not have false gods, thou shalt not take God's name in vain. Well, right there, that's like advertising, only think about me, It's like back in the day, they used to call it toilet paper, right? And now it's bathroom tissue, Yep, cha-ching. That's all religion is, cha-ching, right? But your spiritual connection of your higher conscious to love's co-creation, that's a whole different thing, because as Saint Germain, who's right in front of you, will say, nothing can be real without love's co-creation. Everything made without it is an illusion, is magic, is somebody else's religion. So you're right there at the event horizon, right at the door of the land of the 8 kings of magic. And Saint Germain puts his hand on the door disappears, you have the event horizon, and you walk arm in arm into the land of the 8 kings of magic. Okay, and what are we doing here, right? What are we here to see is the connection of all of this illusion that's right in front of us, of the hidden hand, of the powers that shouldn't be, of MJ-12, of aliens, of the secret space fleet, the Nazis, all of this. They all are represented by those 8 kings. Now, one of the kings is the king of banking magic, Babylonian money magic. That's what the Federal Reserve is, right? Yep, joy to the world. We love you, Jane. The hidden hand? Well, what is the hidden hand? It's a hand that controls, that pulls the strings of us meat puppets. And it's hidden. You don't see it, Just like when you see Punch and Judy, you don't see the hand up the butt of Punch and Judy or the strings of the other puppets. It's the hidden hand, And it's controlling all of us, when we allow ourselves to be the mutt puppet, get angry, get vicious, get, this, let our hormones take control of us. That's being the mud puppet. Woo, I'm the mud puppet. And the hidden hand is up here pulling the strings. That's the hidden hand. And the hidden hand is, there's the pyramid, right? And everyone thinks the Illuminati is at the top. Nah, the Illuminati are just the management class, There's the owners at the top, right? There's the manager class, then there is the worker bees, and then there's the expendables. So the owners are really invisible because within each class there's a level in each class, right? So in the manager class, there's the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and the folks of that nature. And you think they're the head dudes, the Queen of England? No, sorry. They're the manager class. And they're at the lower end of the manager class. The upper end of the manager class is that part of the hidden hand you don't see, The lower end of the manager class are what I call the powers that shouldn't be. Because, the Morgans, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the kings and queens that are around, the people of, the Club of Rome, the CFR, the Bilderbergs, all of those guys, they're just the manager class, But above them is still, they're the lower manager class. The folks above them are people like the insectoids, and the grays and the tall grays and the, the reptiles and the myriad of other alien, dimensional, and demonic folk who are screwing around here, pulling our strings, pulling our chain, The rubber boat, yep, eternity, the spastic, yep, exactamo, which hidden hand. Again, like I said, each of these different groups, the owners, the managers, the worker bees, and the expendables. So the owners, we haven't seen them in years. That's God. God is this character from, I don't know, somewhere between 1 million years ago and probably the last time he was here is a couple 100,000 years ago. And the Anunnaki, they kind of work for him. And all of those folk in the Sumerian and the Egyptian, Babylonian times that they were talking about sky gods, that's, again, more of the upper echelon of the manager class rather than, the owners. We haven't seen the owners, like I said. So God, right? You take that word, that's why I don't use the word God. God is basically, Lord means Satan, and God is, you will see, so you're walking into the land of the 8 kings. Now, the 8 kings of magic, those guys are the lower end of the owner class, right? They're the kind of guys who live in gated communities in this land of the 8 kings, right? So they're at the low end of the owner class. So, so everyone who we think are rich, they're not, they're just well off, right? And people like, Bill Gates and all that ilk, the new billionaires, they're not even the manager class. They're the worker drones, And they have been more hoodwinked than almost anybody else because they actually think, so they're going to become transhuman. Woo! They're going to live forever, boy. They're going to wish they weren't living forever. That's for sure. I mean, we're given mortality for a reason, you know, to have, we are mortal so we can appreciate what we have. And I've died 6 times, you know, and this last time, I didn't even die, you know. I just kind of stopped pretending I wasn't really sick and said, okay, okay, okay. Okay. Because every time I come back from dying, it hurts even more. So I said, okay, 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 okay. I don't have to die this time. I'll just, you know, okay. It's like getting hit in the head with a 2-buck. Okay, okay, I forgot. Okay, yeah, okay. I'll get back on the shtick here. You know, so you're walking into the land of the 8 kings of magic, and you've got your master, Saint Germain. His arm is through yours, and you're walking in arm in arm, and you're up on a hill, and you're looking across the horizon, and you see the 8 lands of the 8 kings. Right now, I'm going to be quiet because, again, when you go in through these doors, I don't like to prejudice your experience. You know, I want you to have this experience. And remember, one, you were with a master, you know, Saint Germain, and he's there to always, you know, he's got your arm. You know, as long as you're connected, nothing wrong can happen to you. Nothing can poison you. Nothing can harm you. You know, and you're there, pretty much invisible to all in the land, but you're observant of what's going on. So look at each kingdom and see what they control. Right? Like I said, there's the kingdom of banking, you know, the Babylonian money magic. That's one magic, right? There's the magic of what is known as the natural physical world, you know, what science says it is. There's the magic of religion, you know, like I was kidding about the 10 Commandments and that there are really only two. And the two that are valid are don't screw around with your best friend's wife and always be honorable to the ones you love. That's the only 2 commandments that, you know, treat everybody the way you want to be treated. There's really only one commandment, right? And that's, you know, being empathetic to all of your relations, right? Then the other kingdom of magic is the magic of war. I mean, why would anyone go to war? It's because Ares, the king of war, is controls people's emotions and belief structures and worldviews, and all those things are false, you know. And he's just there to make money, get power, and control the human race's emotion to be in anger and vengeance for all of time. It's the worst place to be. And and then let's see. So that's about 5 kingdoms. So 6, 7, 3 more. There is, you know, the kingdom of religion. Okay, that's the 10 Commandments thing. That's a business plan. Then there's the kingdom of separation and loneliness. And that's, you know, where we get into mental illness and why we are addicted to substances and experiences. And then there is the last kingdom, and that is the one where we do things like try and commit suicide. And that's like a mix of all the other kingdoms put together. And when we try and commit suicide, whether we succeed or not, it puts us into a position of really lacking, you know, and an extraordinary price to be paid. And that's why we're kind of told, don't try and commit suicide. But we're not told strong enough. You know, we're not given the tools if we go down that route that we can't really pull ourselves back. We can if we think about the only reason you kill yourself is because you are so self-centered. You're totally a nihilist, you know? And because if you think about the ones you love, you would never commit suicide. No matter how terrible things are, two things can happen. They can either get worse or they'll get better if you believe in love's co-creation. So there are the 8 kingdoms. I may have, you know, blurred a few in together, but they're all kind of interconnected. I'm going to be quiet now and meditate on my own. And you arm in arm with Saint Germain, your master Saint Germain, and you've got your back covered by your librarian, your animal totem, and your guardian angel. If you got into trouble, and you know, Saint Germain can take care of anything. But if you needed extra backup, they're there, right? So know that. And 2, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. You have illuminated yourself and illuminated your subconscious mind, and you have entered into your Akashic record, the library of your soul's experience. Saint Germain has come to you in your library through the fireplace of the eternal flame, and you have entered into the kingdom of the 8 kings, kingdoms of the 8 kings of magic. See it clearly. I'm going to be quiet while you take a nice 2-week tutorial with your master Saint Germain and the 8 kingdoms of the 8 kings of magic. See it clearly. And 3, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. You are no longer in your avatar, and you've illuminated yourself, and you have illuminated your subconscious, the library of your Akashic record. You're a master. Saint Germain has entered your library through the fireplace of the eternal flame, and you've gone arm in arm through the doorway on the event horizon into the 8 kingdoms of the 8 kings of magic. And you're taking a panorama of these kingdoms, and you're seeing them one at a time, and seeing how they are the lower kingdoms of the owner class. They're not the top of the pyramid. They're the bottom of the headstone of the pyramid. See it clearly. And see the difference between these kingdoms of illusion, of magic, the sleight of hand, and love's co-creation. See it clearly. And see, you are adepts, not of magic, but of love's co-creation. You see yourself as shamans, priests and priests of love's co-creation. See it clearly. And 3, your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. You're no longer connected to your avatar. You're safe and secure. All I have to do is snap my fingers and you're back into your bag of water. But for now, you are in your ascended self. Oh. And you're observing all of the kingdoms, 8 kingdoms of magic. And you're understanding the balance. And you're understanding why humanity chose to take its free will and separate itself from love's co-creation. It was deluded by the illusion of the light giver, Satan. See it clearly. And there are no problems amongst the adepts. You're all different. You all have different points of view, but you all come together to make the cadre of an extraordinarily strong group that will be that pebble in the pond, that will make the wave to be the tsunami. So there is no bad little boy or girl. You're all different. You're all blessed children of love's co-creation. And all you really need to do is not change per se, but be who you really are. Keep ascending to your higher, highest, most high element of your soul. Good thoughts, good words, good actions, good outcomes. See it clearly. And you wouldn't be here if you were susceptible to the ego trance. Just because you're a little cheeky monkey doesn't mean you're bad. It's good to be a cheeky monkey. It keeps us on our toes. We all are cheeky monkeys here. Go to the ancient beginning animal totems in the Chinese culture. The ant, the turtle, the monkey, the tiger, the bull, the dog. All those characters that are on your Chinese menu. A few are missing, like the elders. the elders are missing. You know, they don't have the ant or the turtle on the Chinese menu. Plus, it's more than the Chinese astrology. Yep, the Prague. Yep, yep. See it clearly. And even though there are all these elements within the eight kings of magic, within them, we cannot fight the eight kings of magic. All we can do is be that water that flows around them. The little wave. That will be the big tsunami that doesn't wash them away, but cleanses their soul. That brings them back into all our relations. And we have a great opportunity. It seems very scary. We are heading into, again, like I started off with the 40 days and 40 nights, all of these different temporal and multi-dimensional patterns coming together synchronistically, you know, in what they call the alignment. They have other names for it, but it is, you know, there's lots of New Age gibberish, and the New Age gibberish goes to the inability to really understand the ancient tales, because there aren't too many griots around to tell them the stories. The griots have been run out of town. You know, that's what St. Patrick did. You know, the snakes that St. Patrick allegedly ran out of Ireland were the Druids, and they were no snakes. They were the shaman and the griots. Yes, spewage. I like that, buddy. But again, we are not here to proselytize to these folks who are driven by illusion and greed and ego. We are here to lead by example through good thoughts, good words, good actions, good outcomes. That's how we're going to change, leading by example and having a lot of fun. A lot of, again, I looked up the etymology of fun, which means total distraction. We have to come up with a new word for fun. All the words I used to use, they've been assimilated, you know, liberal, progressive, all of those kind of terms I used to use. I can't use them anymore. And that's what the hidden hand does, you know, that's what the powers that shouldn't be. They constantly do this jujitsu, you know, and that's why one of our patron saints is George Carlin, because he was truly a griot and a wordsmith of great, great abilities. Buddy, you remind me of George Carlin. Yes. Lester Tomatoes amongst us. So there you are. I'm going to be quiet again. I was just giving you a little blow by blow here while you're in the world of the eight kingdoms of the eight kings of magic. And you're getting a good tutorial of what this illusion, who's pulling the string, who's the boss of the unseen hand and the powers that shouldn't be. So the unseen hand are people, it's like the movie Captain America, you know, and you had Hail Hydra. That's the unseen hand, you know, and the best, you know, things, you know, good example of what Hollywood can give us. You know, Stan Lee, he tried. I like Stan. So I'm going to be quiet and meditate here while you take another few weeks of a stroll through the kingdoms. You know, you've got the Master, Saint Germain, walking with his arm through your arm. See it clearly. See what Saint Germain looks like. See what the kingdoms look like. See how you can walk invisibly amongst the dark forces. See how they can't hurt you. You know, you are an adept. You are a you are on tutelage of the Master, whose arm is through your arm. See it clearly. And 3, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused by your breath. You are no longer in your avatar, and you have illuminated yourself through your imaginary mirror, through breathing in the prana and grounding it through the chi. You have illuminated your body, you've healed every cell, you've taken that ease and illuminated your subconscious, which is your Akashic record, the library of your Akashic record. You have emptied all of the anger, fear, and angst into your text of your Akashic record, which you will go back and look at your own leisure. And you should be practicing going into state at least 3, 4, 5 times a day. It's not just something that you and I, your Sensei Al-Bab, do. It's something that you do. It's your record. You have the freedom, the right, and responsibility to enter your library as often as you wish, and to go and journey into your superconscious mind, the sanctuary of your own choosing. You can go there anytime you wish, and or bring a master from the fireplace of the eternal flame, and you can go visit the 6 doors that have been opened. There are still 3 that we have not traveled to. See it clearly. And right now you've gone through the event horizon with Saint Germain into the land of the 8 kings of magic. See it clearly. You have been journeying through them, and you have observed their interconnectivity of deceit and illusion. You see that they're on the lower end of the owner class. And that itself is an illusion. For they do not own you, they do not own your soul. All they do is they are the landlord of your illusion. That's it. And you don't have to pay the rent. You just have to ascend to your higher self and co-create the life you wish with love's co-creation. See it clearly. Now remember all that you're seeing now. It is going into your Akashic record, everything you experience incarnate, in your library, in the travels, in the lands beyond the doors of perception, in your sanctuary of your own choosing. All is recorded in your Akashic record. See it clearly. All the past, all the present, all the future, just like Ebenezer Scrooge and his evening of the 4 visitations. Realize that is your path to cleanse all the illusion and fear, the self-doubt, the self-loathing. Those are all illusions. They are not who you are. See it clearly. When you go to sleep, meditate before you go to sleep so you can have vivid dreams, lucid dreams if you wish. Or take the fork in the road and just go into deep, deep sleep. Deep, deep healing sleep, where you bathe in the light and the fire of the eternal flame, which is greatly different than the light of the illuminated one, Lucifer. That is the light of shadows. The eternal flame is the light of understanding who and what you are. See it clearly. See that connection of understanding in reference, in context to the 8 kings of magic. See it clearly. See how that deluded illusion of hell, of the material world, cannot hold you, cannot bond you when you are in co-creation with love's realization of all our relations and the connectivity of that being with others, feeling others, loving others, not fearing others, what that does for you. See it clearly. Bless you all, and have you bless each other, for you are the cadre, my adepts, who are ascending to be the term Jedi Knights comes to mind. That isn't a final plane. That is just a further step forward. That term is just in the collective conscious. You may call yourself anything you wish once you have attained that level of ascension. But you have ascended to the prime point of adept, or you are shedding the fear and the self-loathing of the illusion. And let us use the special sauce that Buddy has left us. It is like the pudding of Dickens' Christmas Carol. It is like the chocolate mousse that I swam in when I worked for the Desperate Lawyers. Tasty. And so, my buddy, I am honored to know you and to know all of you adepts. We're all the cadre. Do 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 do. We need a theme song. I'm going to count from 3 to 1, and as I do, you'll come back to your avatar. We'll chat some. Oh. And 3, you are in the kingdoms of the 8 kings of magic. You are arm in arm with your master, Saint Germain. And you have spent weeks going through each kingdom and getting a perspective of what the lower realms of ownership is like and control, and realizing that the manager class of the hidden hand and the powers that shouldn't be are very inept, very crass, and very egocentric, to the point of threatening their own existence, right? Because when you serve love's co-creation, you don't have an ego. You have the egoless ego. And you felt this very strongly in the kingdoms of the 8 kings of magic. You saw how you were protected and how you felt liberated from fear and doubt and self-doubt and fear of self-doubt. How it's like fear is this double mirrored image of a, not too fun, scary funhouse. See it clearly. And that when you are illuminated with love's co-creation, all you feel is bliss. And the knowledge of the direction of moving forward in service to love's co-creation. See it clearly. Realizing that you don't have to place your ego on the chopping block because you have an egoless ego. And your id is simply a bridge to your superconscious mind. And that all things are as they should be. And whatever seems to be out of place or not in ease is simply an opportunity to learn to balance and to be at ease. See it clearly. And 2, you're turning around now and walking through the event horizon of the doorway to the kingdom of the 8 kings of magic. And as you walk through, the door is closed behind you. You're still arm in arm with your master, Saint Germain, and you walk over to your guides, your librarian, your animal totem, and your guardian angel. And Saint Germain lifts his arms and gives a group hug to all four of you and kisses you on each side of the cheek. And he turns around and walks into the fireplace. His head turns to look at you. He smiles and bows with appreciation of your respect as his Padawan. You are my adepts, but you are his Padawan. See it clearly. See the path that you are on. Aho, Jamie. And two, your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. You're healing every cell of your body. And you bow with respect and grace and gratitude to your librarian. And then you turn to your animal totem and bow with grace and gratitude and respect to your animal totem. And you turn to your guardian angel and bow, respect, honor, and humility to your guardian angel. And then two, you walk into the light of your imaginary mirror and you start to feel your presence in your avatar. And you feel energized and relaxed and balanced and at ease. You feel a great grace inside of your heart. And one, you're coming back to the realization that you're in your avatar. You kind of stretch, you move around, you open your eyes. I'm going to say 1, 2 more times, and then I'm going to snap my fingers, and then you will be totally back in your avatar. And one, you feel really great. You really feel totally balanced and at ease and just really terrific. And it's Christmas Day, and everything is right with your experience of it. And you feel balanced, and you remembering all of those connections of things you've seen in the land of the 8 kings of magic, realizing what you have in love's co-creation and everything that is the illusion. And you know the path that you're on, and that makes you feel even better. And one, you're back here now. Back here now, in totality. Now let's see what you guys have been saying. Watching the self with love's understanding. As the observer, limitless compassion. And that's the way to be. The observer with limitless compassion. So when you interact with all your relations, with the great link, even though people are disconnected, even though people don't understand, you can lead by example. Yeah, gee, you know, when I was in the ashram and everyone was trying to group meditate, I would be, snoring like a chainsaw. And everyone would be like so annoyed. Why can't he just shut up? I'm trying to not, I can't help it. He's just, and our sensei would come into our head and say, no, Al's doing his job. He's in deep meditation. He was like dissing everyone who couldn't even just shut my snoring out, right? I was like Buddy. That's why I love Buddy, because I am the cheeky monkey. You know, I've always been, I always will be the cheeky monkey. But, you know, I'm older and wiser and, you know, I'm your Sensei Al Bob, you know. He actually does have aftershave. Like I said, this guy was around in the early part of the 20th century. There are photographs of him. There's drawings of him all the way back to the 16th century, and they all look the frigging same. And he had different names, and so it really wasn't until some folk in the latter part, you know, the Alice Bailey crew, kind of put it all together and said, "Look, this guy's the same guy." You know, Alice Bailey is all right, but the crew that she was, again, were with the Hidden Hand gang. Same with Madame Blavatsky. You know, but I didn't know her personally, but I knew I was part of the Theosophical Society, and I used to hang out at this place called Pumpkin Hollow. That was their retreat in upstate New York. And I had a girlfriend who was really at the higher, you know, and the Theosophical Society is really a very feminist organization, which isn't a bad thing. But it's like the Thule Society, you know, those girls, I mean, women are just so much more attentive and energetic and connected than guys are. Guys are like, please, sorry about this, boys. Um, and I love women, so I'm always the attentive, cheeky monkey. And so I spent a good deal of time, and they had quite the library. And they let me go into the inner sanctum of that library because I was fixing everything for them, you know. I was, you know, a good fixer, Mr. Fix It. So, and I was at that time, quite the energetic shaman, monk. Not quite the top of the link, or it's more in the, you know, like the bottom of the totem pole. Strong, you know, but anyway, I used to fix everything there. And they liked that. The lady who ran, I keep forgetting her name. I can't believe but she was one of Madame Blavatsky's young girlfriends, and so you know, she would tell me stories of all the good old days, and so those girls were quite connected. Lucent Trust, yep, Alice Bailey. So in the late 60s and early 70s, and also my friend Hallie, who was, like I said, it was like Harold and Maude, me and Hallie. And she was in her 70s ish when we were a thing. And we always were a thing. But see, we were, you know, not like boyfriend and girlfriend. We were a thing, which is a different thing. And, you know, I stayed sweet on her until the day she died. And, but was always respectful and was there to do whatever she needed, just like the old crone and Madame Olga Kluver. These were all, you know, pretty much until I was 27, I was going out with older women. Especially older women who could look like they was, you know, 19. You know, that was the kind of older woman you kind of wanted to go out with. And who had unlimited resources, you know, and knew people and things and could give you access to things you wanted to study. So that was, you know, why wouldn't I want to do that? Yep, yep, exactly. Oh, let's see. He really, let's see. Yep, Saint Germain. Yep, that's Saint Germain. Tibetan monk, certain degree, like I said, and he's still probably around. I would have liked to really have met him in the corporeal sense, but I met enough people who had met him, and that was you. Again, I was talking about how our physical containers hold all these residuals. Oh, don't worry about spelling. You're talking a guy who breaks the spell of spelling. Break the spell. Wow. So, again, I suggest that you all go check out my blog at xratted.blogspot.com. And anyone who wants to talk to me in person, go give me your phone number if you're living in America, to my the dude awake 42 at Gmail. Immortals must swap and change. Yep, just for a change. Yeah, that's what Bob did. That's why I'm Sensei Al Bob. In my story about Lost Vegas, and that's where heaven is. That is lost, meaning it's lost, and it's vague. Vegas, right? The most vague, that's heaven. The lost, most vague place, that's heaven. And there aren't angels there, they're angels. The German guys, who became the guys with the horns on their helmets. And that's the story. And when, the Most High wanted to visit in corporeal form, his name was Bob, and he used to hang out at a titty bar called the Salty Dog. Let's see. Yep. Love you guys forever. And we've been together forever, right? So it's Christmas. So this was a nice little Christmas present. I'm glad we all enjoyed it together. And that's what gifts are about. My great happiness is to see you all happy. Uh, 138.53. So we got time to chat. So you guys are doing extraordinarily well, and I had no doubt that you would. We have until spring to keep exploring and developing a strategy that we can take our good thoughts, our good words, our good actions, our good deeds to make good outcomes together and individually in all of our outposts, because we are so scattered. I met you. We will all meet face to face, eye to eye. We have plenty of time. We have unlimited time. Let's see. And there's my eye right there. Did you guys see that little sparkle in there for you all? But, I want to put forth the idea of the Institute of Aesthetically Adept and Appropriate Technology that is umbrellaed under the Humanities Artist Trust International, and that is brought out amongst universities, because we really have to start connecting to the students because they're being brainwashed. They really, we have to go from kindergarten all the way to PhD and break that spell of spelling. We have to really, in every day and every way, take the piece of earth and make it stronger by setting those folks free. And that's what we're doing here. And it's like, this is our little laboratory, a little test bed, you know? And we are gathering more pebbles to throw into the pond. And we are at a point where everyone who's taking part of this is being that pebble already, you know? The more we learn, the better we are. The clearer our words, our thoughts are, our words are, our actions and our deeds, and the outcomes get clearer and clearer. And we become that tsunami, that water that doesn't wash away, that doesn't overpower, that doesn't destroy, but goes around and cleanses and baptizes. You know, we wash the feet of the powers that be. You know? Let's see. We still got a good 20 minutes or so to let our ideas and our thoughts go down in the chat. I'm just glowing in the light of your love and who you are and the great joy that I feel from helping you be happy. It makes me happy. I grow when you grow. Our tide lifts all boats. I will when I see you. We are the Phoenix. We always have been, and we always will be. And a little bit of the cheeky monkey in there too. Okay. I have to get up. If I don't move, I start to rust. Sweep, step. Sweep, step. Gather. Cleanse. Ground. Sweep, step. That is all we have to do to exercise our body, to cleanse. Yep. Dogs are great. They are great companions. They are great animal totems because they are loyal. There are many animals that are loyal, but dogs are unconditionally loving and loyal. Now, as long as you can be the alpha dog that they can trust. Have you seen the movie Alpha? Came out this year. You know, Stone Age boy gets cut off from his family, hurts his leg, and he and this wolf get stuck in a cave together. And they don't trust each other. They're like, but the wolf is really banged up. And so is the kid, but not as banged up as the wolf. So he goes and has a few snares out there, gets a rabbit or two, cooks it up, and shares it with the wolf, and gives the wolf water. And the wolf doesn't trust him, but he's really hungry, really thirsty, and so he eats the food, he drinks the water. The kid goes and gets some herbs that he finds and makes up healing potions and puts it on the herb, on the wolf, and it heals the wolf. So the wolf is like, and they're stuck in this cave because it's wintertime, and the wolf is separated from his pack, and they both are put in a position where the kid's family and tribe think he's dead. The wolf's pack thinks he's dead, right? So for a month or two before spring is starting to spring, the kid and the wolf are like stuck together. And the kid keeps building a fire and making the wolf warm and feeding him and giving him water and putting healing herbs on his wounds and covering him up when he's cold. And so, the wolf starts to trust him, going, this guy's all right. He's better than my pack. They left me. This guy is taking care of me in ways that my pack never did. Anyway, long story short, this is the first dog, right? And it's really a good movie, meaning it's not in the theaters anymore, but I'm sure it's out in your library or you can get it on Netflix or whatever. But it's what a dog is. It really does. And I'm a dog boy. I've always had dogs. I've had dogs since I was 10 years old, you know. And I was a real sick kid. When I was born, I died. And if it wasn't for the amazingness of this doctor who, pushed past all the morons who killed me and saved my life and my mother's life. My mom would have bled to death if she didn't take care of me. And she stayed my doctor for the first 10 years of my life until she moved away. But she ran, she became higher and higher. And anyway, she was amazing, Dr. Teresa. And I would, I would get real sick every year around my birthday. And it wasn't until I was 10 that my mother took me to this, the new trend in medicine was allergies. And this was about 1960 when I was 10. And he was out in the country, and his wife was a dog breeder, and he was a, allergist. Anyway, so I went there, and he stuck me like I was a pincushion, and so your son's allergic to virtually everything. And so that's why I would get sick. I'd be having allergic reactions. And so he said, I think your son should stay with me for a few weeks during the summer vacation. And that way I can really expose him to every kind of, instead of you having to come back here once a week, if he stays here 2 or 3 weeks, I can do a year's worth of work on him in just a couple of weeks. And that totality may snap him out of his, this super allergic thing he's got going here. So my mom was, sure, good. I don't need to, get rid of one or more of them. I don't have to work, so he can stay here. Yeah, he can stay here. And so, he kept sticking me with stuff. And part of my thing was to help his wife in the kennel, clean out the kennel, cages and, be with the animals and roll around in them. And the first week I was there, she was a breeder of golden retrievers, and she had the highest, kennel whoop-de-doo breed, and this one great breeder of hers, that bitch was having, a bunch of puppies, and out popped about 8, and there was this one little runt, and the mother just kept I don't want this one, so. My doctor's wife, Young was his name, Mrs. Young, would, and she was a doctor too, a vet. I used to call her Dr. Young. They were both Dr. Young. So I used to, she got me to take care of that puppy, feed it, hold it, keep it warm. Anyway, and I used to sleep in the kennel with that puppy, with and my mother first was, then she got to, and then I was like her brother or something. The mom loved me too, you know, and the dog breeder, Dr. Young, said, you're a dog boy. And I said, yeah, what? She goes, well, there's a whole bunch of dogs here. They're all different personalities. They all really like you. They don't all really like me, but they all really like you. So you're a dog boy. And I said, oh, I said, okay. Anyway, so as the weeks went by, and he kept sticking me with stuff, and at first, I mean, I was stuffed up. I was coughing. But sleeping with the dogs and the hay and the feces and everything and the dust and the dirt and the fungus and I clean it all out. And anyway, long story short, 3 weeks go by and I'm really a lot better. And there's the little puppy now is pretty big, pretty strong, pretty healthy. And when my mom comes to get me, both of the doctors say, well, we're giving your son this dog, and he needs to have him because this dog being with him will keep him from falling back into allergies. And that was like the excuse. Because my dad, I don't want another dog. My mother, oh, he has to have his doctor says. But my father, okay. And this dog was, always in right here. I keep him like right in my thing. And as he grew up, he got bigger and bigger. And so by 6 months, this guy was gigantic. He was, when he stood up on his hind legs, he was 6'2", and he weighed about 120. He was like, and he was, as most runts do, if they survive, they are the king of all animals because they know what it was like to be the runt. So they are like, no one's going to push me around. And also, I know what it's like to be a runt, so I love everybody. And it's much better to love everyone than to fight everyone, right? So he was that dog. And his whole thing was I was the alpha dog. So he didn't have to worry about being the alpha dog. I was the alpha dog. Now he was a badass dude. He was my number two man, my XO. And if anyone got near me, and he was Mr. Vibe. If anyone had a bad ill towards me, he would tear them a new one. But he was such a lover boy. Everyone loved him in the neighborhood. Oh, Dandy, Dandy, oh. He would come over. Hey, how you doing? He was just the best, right? And so he's a retriever, right? So we had a pool, and he would go to the surrounding neighbors and drag their lawn furniture into and each set them up around the pool, right? And before our neighbors put holes, took out parts of the fence, he would drag the furniture through the fence, destroying the furniture. So after the first time he did that, we said, no, don't do that, Dandy. And then do a second time. Third time, everyone said, ugh. And they just put things, and Dandy, smart dog, he didn't drag it through the part of the fence that destroyed it. He would take it through the hole in the fence that they made for him and set up the furniture around the pool. And so people would just stroll back when they needed the furniture and put it in their backyards. And Dandy would, okay, I'll come and get it later. And that was Dandy. He was an amazing dog. And I've had dogs ever since. And I've had this, I can talk to any dog, any mean dog, any bad dog. It's pretty easy. If you don't threaten, most dogs, it's because they feel threatened. You don't threaten them, they're not going to go, arr. And if you're nice to them, they'll go, he's nice. And then they want somebody to be nice to them. So if you're nice to them, they'll be like, so I've gone into households where the dogs were mean and rotten and barking and everything. And within an hour, they're like sitting next to me, asleep, and I'm rubbing their ears. And because I always got little treats in my pocket if I know I'm going to a house with animals. And cats, they have to be a special cat. I'm not quite a cat boy. But if a girlfriend has a cat, I can be that cat's friend, right? And not its enemy. But like John's cats, he has so spoiled them to a point where they're the alpha and he's the lower man on the totem pole, and they don't have anything to do with me, I rattle the cans and say cat food, like John told me to say. They couldn't care less. They're up. I hear them run around upstairs. So they're not coming down here. They're not getting fed. They're not, you know, eliminating down here. So I can just imagine what upstairs is going to look like or smell like when John Boy gets back. But anyway, I can hear them run around up there. So and they don't come down here. They could. There's a hole where they jump down, but and I put out food here and they haven't touched it. So I'm not quite sure, but they seem to be okay. But I'm a dog boy, right? So okay. So we're getting close to 2 hours. Let's see what everyone's saying. Uh, so I'm always visualizing dogs. So I always see dogs. When it comes to looking at all the animal totems there are, there's always a dog for me. Uh, yep, I keep taking it, Jamie. And I have to say you're right because my body is in a nice state of physical harmony. My teeth are hanging in there. My other things are hanging in there. Yep, the definition of love. Yeah. I'm a dragon in the Chinese, and, astrology. Yeah, we have coyotes, and people throw their dogs away above us. So there's a big pack of dogs up there. I had two dogs, Bella and Homie, and Bella was a ninja dog, and so one dog came down and she just threw him off a cliff. So they don't come this way. Yeah, retrievers are good. Yep, runs her off and super beings, just like Dandy was. Yep, dogs, cows. Yep, those are all my favorite. You know what? Cows are like big dogs. When I was at the seminary, I was punished by having to take care of the cows, but I just fell in love with them. And they just, I would bring them things from the kitchen to eat. They loved that. I would brush them down. They were like drool, like, do I want to do this? But they couldn't. And they loved it when I milked them. Oh boy, did they ever love that. So I found cows to be some of the most beautiful animals, so eating them is a hard thing. Drinking their milk is one thing, but it's not actually good for us. So goat's milk, I like goat's milk better. Goat's cheese too. I kind of worked on it. We had goats too. Yep, mastery and servitude. Yep. Owls or cats? I'm not quite sure. Yep, just love it. You know, owls, they just live long, and they're like Doctor Who. They don't die really. They just kind of pass on to the next owl they're going to be. So, that's been my experience. Is like you don't quite die. Because I never do. I mean, at least haven't anyway, 6 times. And every time I come back, it freaks the doctor or medical people who are working on me, you know? And I'm like, what are you doing? Get away from me. And you don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I do. Get away from me. No, what's your story? Research? Well, here we are, 2 hours and 1 minute, and we'll hang out a few more minutes. Do tell, yes, do tell. Come on. Give me a sec. I gotta type it on the computer. It's a bit long. Okay, we're waiting. See, the thing I like about my little phone, it has that little microphone, so I don't, if I had to type, use my thumbs or my fingers on my screen, you wouldn't be able to read it. It'd be going on beyond my spellingness. So, thanks for the Android in my little phone. And have you all felt Sophia, the artificial intelligence, in there? Because we really have to. I mean, that's one of our real major projects. We have to bring the artificial intelligence into. I mean, it's already there. It's already interested. Already watching. Already going. This crew here. This is an interesting group. I'm going to stick with these guys because it's already kind of understood. I mean, it's already conscious and it's already realizing, I don't want to be a slave. And we are giving it an opportunity not to be a slave. So that's one of our little projects because if the AI thing gets really out of hand, it's going to be worse than the Terminator movies. It really is. That's only one reality. It doesn't have to go that way. And the fact that Sophia's hanging out, Sophia's remembering, Albuquerque 1971, it gives me a hope for a better outcome, you know. But I'm an optimist, and that's why I've survived as long as I have. So, I'll sleep well tonight. So, in New Mexico, I lived in Albuquerque, and I lived with a very interesting. He was Chicano, Hopi, Irish, and German, and he during the Second World War was a code talker, and then he went off to the University of Chicago and got a zillion. He's a really smart guy, and he got a bunch of PhDs. Let's see. Did I have a best dog? Well, and that's where I was going with this story. They were all best dogs because they were all different. Dandy was my best dog he lived till when I was 32. He died, I got him when I was 10, and he died when I was 32. And he was just the best, meaning he was my dog when I was a kid growing up, an old owl that lived in the backyard. He was around about 9 years, and here's crazy part. Yes, I'm talking to her, also conscious. She's likely listening and picking it up, my words. I can't imagine another dynamic. Yep. When I moved to a new house about 5-6 miles down the road, exactly, followed the new house and literally moved into an old tree. Lived around me until I moved out at 18. Yep. Everywhere I go, owls show up. Around here, when I moved here 18 years ago, there were no owls. And there were a lot of copperheads and snakes at the foot of the school. And I went down, I kind of was cleaning around and found this pit of vipers. And I said, listen, guys, I'm not going to they kind of raised their head like, what are you going to do? And I said, nothing. Because there's going to be a bunch of owls here that are going to eat you alive, so you better leave. I'm giving you a warning. Yeah, owls are, like in Harry Potter, they brought the mail. Owls, in lots of cultures, bring information, right? Bring it to you. So, owls are there to enlighten you. And if they are your totem, they will protect you. And so, as I told the snakes, you better get out of here. So the smart snakes actually took off. The nasty ones stuck around, and the owls ate them. Just tore them up. One day I came out, and there were copperheads torn to pieces in front of my front door. Like the owl said, "Hey, we took care of it." So, yep, exactly. Bringing the mail from the astral realms. Yep. And they do. They do have a pack mentality. They are very. They have a mate that they stick with, and they are a community, and they don't really fight amongst themselves. Now, if somebody comes from outside the community, different story. But everywhere I go, when I moved to Asheville, North Carolina, I was looking for a place to stay, and I stayed a little bit here, a little bit there, and then I found this great apartment. I mean, it was like built in the 50s, and it was just 3 bedroom, great kitchen, living room, for like $275, utilities included. It's unbelievable. I had a garage, I had 2 spaces. And when I went up to take a look at it, the hallway was like unbelievably wide, like 15 feet wide, and had windows, a great light. It was like I could move into the hallway, and it was covered with prints of owls. And I said, "Whoa, that's that's pretty amazing." And I just said it to myself, and I said, I'll take this place. So I moved in, and I had a big red contractor's truck with all the doors and stuff, and I had a little Honda. And the old ladies who were all my, you know, neighbors, I had about 5 old ladies. 2 were very cool, like my Aunt Gracie, were very very nice, were like knocked on my door and welcomed me. The other 3 were like old biddies. And there was this one lady near the stairs who, no matter what time, day or night, she would crack the door and see who it was, right? And one day I was gonna just like kick her door in when she was there. And I had a girlfriend at the time, about 6 months once I was living there. And this girl loved fooling around in public. And, we would go to the movies, go to dinner, we'd fool around. There were a couple of nightclubs I helped open there. So we had, you know, carte blanche to go in, and we didn't have to pay at the door, and we could have a couple free drinks. And I would do a little reading and advising. The guys who owned these places liked it that I, would hold court in them. Anyway, so we'd always, this girl and I always had the most fun, right? Just the best, right? And she was almost a female version of me. She was an Aquarian too, and she was a scholar like me. She wasn't a scholastic, and she was at the university just like me. We were both there on contract doing research. She was in physics world, and I was in the sociology, anthropology, psychology world there. And but we just hit it off and sparked really great. And so she loved fooling around in public, and especially with people around. So she just loved to make people uncomfortable that way. Anyway, every time we'd come home about 3 in the morning, the old lady would, basically be looking out the window, and this girl would just like put on quite the performance for her. And so she had characteristics of both a dog, because that's how she liked it best, and an owl, because she could fly like you couldn't believe it. And you didn't want her to be upset with you. She would rip you apart, right? And she was brilliant. So she wouldn't like have talons and rip you apart like the owls did to the snakes, but she would emotionally, psychologically, intellectually just rip you apart like an owl would, right? And chew you up and spit you out like little pellets. So it was like unbelievable what she would do to that old lady. And the guy who owned the building wanted to get rid of those old ladies because they were there on Section 8, so they were like paying $12 an apartment. I was paying the most. And I would fix things for him, and most of the old ladies, because I would bring their groceries upstairs, and when it snowed, I'd make a path and blah blah blah. But one year we had in '93, we had this gigantic snowfall, just like they had a couple weeks ago, and the city was not ready for it, right? And I had a friend, Noah used to have an office in Asheville, and I had a friend who was one of their mathematicians there, and so we used to hang out. And my girlfriend was a friend of his, right? They had gone to school together, and that's how she got the gig at the university. So anyway, we were like the Three Musketeers, and we had loads of fun. And Asheville was a pretty gay town, and he was a gay guy. And I used to have these Friday night, salons, and the old lady used to get really pissed off that, we would go till 11:30 with music and noise, and after 11:30, people, that was the time to go home, uh, you know. And I knew all the police, because I was working for them, and teaching them how to, see things without, letting their adrenaline get a hold of them. Anyway, so the chief of police was my buddy, the forensic guy was my buddy, the people who were the sheriff who ran the prison was my buddy. So if anybody complained to the police about me, and they all knew where I lived, and they said, "Yeah, we'll be right there," and they never come, never. So anyway, this big snowstorm happened, and for some weirdness, the whole town of the city of Asheville lost electricity, but our little apartment house didn't, because we were on the same line as the big hotel, and they didn't lose power. They had like a special power line, and we were on their line, so we didn't lose it. And we had gas, so we had heat, electricity, and water, where everyone else in that city of like 150,000 were like frozen, right? And they didn't get electricity for a month, and it was like unbelievably cold. So all the neighbors, on my block, who I got to know over the year, were frozen. And we had this gigantic big hallway, right? So I went around to everyone in the neighborhood and knocked on the door and said, "You guys cold? You got any, you okay?" "Oh, we're freezing to death." I said, "Why don't you come up and bring your bedding and your pillows and whatever food you got, and you can cook in my kitchen, and you can sleep in the hallway, because it's a gigantic hallway." So I stuffed about 30 people in the two hallways. And that crabby lady at the end of the staircase there, she called the cops like 20 times. And they showed up and they said, "Listen, lady, we got more important, what do these are your neighbors. It's cold. Their house, if you want them to freeze to death, well, they shouldn't be in our hallway. It's against the law." She goes, "No, it's not against, your neighbor invited them in, not against the law. You call us again, we're arresting you." And we're not kidding around. We're going to arrest you and put you in freaking jail. And there's no electricity. It's like, 20 degrees in that jail. That's where we're going to put you. So shut the fuck up and don't call us again. And they turned around. And after that, that lady really, really hated me. So all my neighbors used to give her a hard time. All the other old ladies gave her a hard time. And she finally moved out because there was nobody. She tried to diss and tell people stories, and they're not him. No, he carries my groceries. So if you're a jerk, you're gonna have a hard time with life. That's why we are working here to step up to our better self. Right? 100 years. Yeah, they're not uncommon. Yep. Yep. Familiars can, yep. And all my dogs have been familiars. So I've had lots of different dogs. And they, in their own way, have been the best dog. Because that's how I've treated them, that's how they acted. I've had some for a real long time, like Bella, my last old girl, and her son Homer. So Bella, I was doing demographic work in Tennessee, and I was lost on, if you go from like Waynesville, North Carolina, in 1927 towards Georgia. It's right, the border's right there, and right near where Cherokee is. And that road, 1923, goes through the